I want to tell you a little bit about the book Modello, which you're going to be reading shortly. And first of all, I encourage you to read it. Don't skip it. If it's a great read. It's an easy read. It's a very compelling human story. And I want to give you a little background in hopes that this will encourage you to both read and get the most out of that book. Years ago, back in the mid-'80s, when I first was introduced to this work, I went to a conference in St. Petersburg, Florida. And there was quite a buzz at this conference that Dr. Roger Mills, who unfortunately passed away last year, but Dr. Roger Mills, who was then one of the leading psychologists developing the applications of this understanding of the principles, was going to present some of his clients who had an amazing, miraculous story to tell. And so at the time of this presentation, the room was absolutely crammed. There were probably 250 people in a hotel ballroom. And I think there were probably 260 people at the convention altogether. So almost everybody was there. And up on the stage were 6 African-American ladies and Roger. And the audience, I hate to tell you this, but the truth is the audience was primarily middle-class, middle-aged white people. Most of them professionals, most of them social workers, psychologists. And as each one of these ladies got up to speak, we were struck dumb by what they had to say. They were who came to be called the Modello mothers. And Jack Pransky, the author of the book Modello, was at that conference, and that's when he became aware of these women. And he decided, as a prevention specialist, that he really had to delve into this story and investigate it thoroughly because it was unbelievable to him. None of these women had ever been outside of the city of Miami before. Most of them had not been too far outside of their immediate neighborhood. And they were, Roger raised money to get them to the conference so they could tell their story. And I won't go into it. I won't spoil the book for you. But one thing that really, really struck me, this one woman stood up and she said, I want to tell you all that before I met Dr. Mills, this is what my life was like. I got up every morning after my son went to school because I didn't have any food. I was hungover. I was miserable. And I didn't want to get up and disappoint him still one more morning. So I waited till I heard him leave. And I would turn on the TV. And I'd watch all these rich people winning game shows. And I'd get really bitter and angry. And I didn't have any money. And I didn't have any food. I'd go out on the street. And I'd sell myself. But before my son got home from school, instead of buying food, I'd buy drugs or alcohol. And by the time he got home, I was back in bed, half out of it, paying no attention to him. Most of the time, we didn't have much to eat for supper either. He would roam around outside with the other kids. And I knew this was wrong, but I didn't know how to stop it. And I told myself, well, I'm a welfare mother. There's no hope for me. There's nothing I can do. My mother was on welfare. My grandmother was on welfare. I'm on welfare. It's a terrible life. And I can't do anything about it. And she said, when I started to go to Dr. Mills's class, the first thing I realized is that I was a citizen of my family. And I began using my welfare money carefully and buying food for my son and staying off the streets and cleaning up. And then I started to go back to school, and I realized I was a citizen of my community, and that I could help other women who were in the same plight that I was in, and get them to this class, and get them to wake up to what was possible for them. And then she said, when a group of us started getting well, and finding our health, and finding our strength, and accomplishing things, that was just at the time that Haitians were escaping Haiti and coming to the landing on the shores off of Miami, often in terrible little rafts and in terrible condition. And the U.S. didn't know what to do with them, and they put them in these internment camps, basically, in Homestead. Terrible places. They had no shade. They had very little food. They were just milling around in basically a pinned up field until everybody figured out what to do. And the Modello mothers, early in their understanding, saw a newspaper article or read or saw it on television, what was happening to these poor Haitian people. And they went around their neighborhood and they got rice and they got food and they took it to the Haitian camp to give to the poor Haitian mothers and their babies. And she said, that's when I realized I was a citizen of the world. And that's a powerful, powerful story. And that's the beauty of the book Modello. It shows you how people awaken, no matter how long they've been asleep, to their own resiliency and their own power. How they can awaken, find their own strength, and become amazing contributing members of society. I saw one of them just last summer, 2010, at a conference in Key West, Florida. She was working as a consultant in North Carolina to a neighborhood improvement project. She's traveled all over the country as a consultant. She was a powerful speaker. She's got a wonderful life that she could have never imagined. And it all came from the time that she went to that little class that Roger Mills started in this terrible, ugly housing project to wake these women up to their innate health and resiliency. I hope you enjoy the story.